Welcome to another episode of the 2-for-1 podcast with Jamin and
Jordani.
Jordani, how you doing?
Doing good, man.
Very good,
Back
very
from work,
good.
ate dinner. You know what I'm saying?
That's what
Nice
it's
little
all about.
chicken. We're
I
good.
haven't eaten yet.
Oh, you
Only thing
starving.
I've had today was a Popeye's chicken sandwich and some
At
fries
least you ate good. At least you ate
and
good.
and and some pretzels. That's all. I didn't have
Mm.
breakfast. All I had was just like that weird lunch, and then that was it. But I'm gonna probably eat after this. I should
That's good.
actually
That's
probably
good.
eat after this. Yeah,
Definitely.
for
Get some
sure.
sustenance.
Absolutely. There's been some interesting stuff that's happened in the NBA since our last episode, but we're not gonna talk about those things because the NBA finals are very fast approaching. Matter of fact, they start tomorrow, don't they? So yeah, we're gonna talk about this interesting matchup we have here. Let's start with the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics are pretty much expected to make it to the finals, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
especially after the injuries that happened to Giannis and the Bucks, we basically knew that there wasn't really anyone stopping them in the East, and they proved that. Even though some of those wins weren't very pretty, they successfully beat the. They played the Cavs first, right?
Yep.
No,
No,
no. They played
they had to buy. They didn't have to play the first round. Then they had the Cavs and the Pacers.
Who did they play in the first round?
Oh no, the Heat. My
The
fault.
Heat. There we go.
I'm thinking this is like baseball. My fault. They
No,
played the
you
Heat
good.
first round.
They played the Heat in the first round, beat them in five, of course, without Jimmy Butler playing for any of those games. He got injured in the playing game, unfortunately. That would have probably been the one team that I thought maybe could have, be in them just because it's happened before. But clearly that's not what ended up happening. Then in the second round, they of course faced the Cleveland Cavaliers, who were missing Donovan Mitchell for like the last 2 or 3 games. So that was very interesting. Even regardless of that, I think the Cavs won game two. But you know, the Cavs still lost. Cleveland or the Celtics still ended up winning that one in 5 games, which was a pretty good one for them. Pretty good one for them. And of course, speaking about good wins, they swept the Pacers, who were missing Tyrese Halliburton for the last 2.5 games. So we've noticed a very interesting trend here, but I do think they probably would have beaten all those teams regardless. Let me get this Febreze out of the frame here. It was just kind of because we're not sponsored. We're not sponsored by them. But if you do want
Might
to hit
get
us
sued
up,
actually.
I'd be more than
Don't sue
happy.
us.
Don't sue us, please. But if they do sue us, if they do sue us, what? Yeah. Yeah, that's proper grammar. Yeah, if they do sue
Yeah.
us, then you know for sure that courtroom's gonna smell amazing. Anyway,
Aha.
yeah, that was such a horrible joke. So now we're here, right? The Celtics blew past all of their opponents. But it's interesting though, because they swept the Pacers, but that was like the worst sweep ever. Now, granted, it was still a sweep, but like they almost lost game one. Indiana basically gave it to them, right? They almost
Yeah.
lost game two, I think, and then every other game was like pretty close. But of course, with the Pacers star player being out, um, you know, it just wasn't gonna happen. Although shout out to Nemhard. I get
Yeah, he
Nemhard
was Nemhard.
and
Yeah.
yeah, it was Nemhard. Yeah, shout out
He was
to him.
hooping.
Shout out,
He
he
was
was
playing
hooping.
really
He's gonna
well.
be real good.
Yeah.
I think he's only in his second or first year right now. Um, I think this is his second year. I will Google that real quick. This is his second year. I was
Second
right.
season, yeah. Second season.
So he's gonna be real good. He really showed out in these playoffs.
Yeah. Go
Um,
get them minutes next season. Good job,
yeah, for
Andrew.
sure. But
Andrew
yeah,
I'm
they ended up
sharing.
winning in 4 games. Shout out to the Pacers for putting up a good fight. Was there anything that stuck out to you throughout this pretty dominant Boston Eastern Conference run to the finals?
It was expected. Oh, I think we all expected it. I don't really think they faced any of the best teams or teams that really would have given them problems. I think that the Knicks at full health, if they were like that, no Kendrick, could have given them trouble. The Bucks, if Giannis was there, even though the Bucks were kind of like, they still could have given them some trouble. The Heat, obviously, but at the end of the day, it was expected they would be at this point, and they made it at the end of the day. So, what else can you really expect or ask for?
Yeah. You know, I personally feel like the Celtics we're gonna win. We're going to beat all those teams anyway. But I didn't like what I was seeing from that Indiana series. I don't know about you, but I just thought some of those wins weren't very convincing. They
No.
shouldn't have been struggling against that team. Now, granted, Indiana has a great offense, one of the best, offenses in the league. But with their star player being out, if you're going to be a true contender, I truly feel like you should have been just blowing them out. You know,
Yes, but yeah, with Halliburton out, the fact that they aren't a good defensive team. So I would have expected these games to be more like shootouts,
yeah.
but they really weren't. Um, like I'm looking at it right now, it's like they won by double digits only one time
Which game?
versus the game two. And it's like, brother, the team was missing their star, bro. Like it's like, and I think game two was the one he got hurt in.
It
So it's not
was.
he they still had him, but it's just like you gotta do better. You should do better. And the fact that you in game three they only won by 3 points. I think that was the one where they came back because I remember they came back down like 15 points. I was eating at Chili's watching this game, enjoying me a triple dipper. And I seen the TV like, yo, the Celtics are selling right now. What's going on with them? And they ended up coming back. But very much the way I see it is that, you look at someone like the Mavericks. The Mavericks took down the Clippers in 6 games. The Clippers, I would argue, were better than them. The Clippers are a better team. They took them down in six. Um, what was I gonna say? I was gonna get the series stats. Hold on. And it's like they had some convincing wins. They won by 30 in game five, won by 13 in game six, won by 12. I mean, they lost by 12 in the first game, my fault. But still, it's like once they got into their flow, their rhythm, they was cooking this team. They were cooking this team. And even versus the Thunder, they played super well versus the Thunder. I'm not saying of course it was gonna be close. They're the 1 seed. But once again, it's the 1 seed. They're a way better team. So you would expect the games to be close. You would expect them to go back and forth. You wouldn't expect that when what seed were the Pacers? They were going against a 6th seed, going back and forth while the 6th seed was missing their best player. Not a good look,
Yeah.
considering that the Mavericks was going back and forth with the best teams in the West, and they were able to clinch out all their wins.
And see, to add to that point, you know, I believe OKC won 61 games. No, no, sorry. No, that's Boston. That's Boston that
57,
won 61. Excuse me. OKC won 57
57.
games. Dallas
Mm-hmm.
won 51. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty close. The Celtics were the
Yeah.
ones that won
Yeah.
61. Pacers won off the top of my head. I'm going to try to guess. Maybe 48,
You're
47,
actually wrong. The Celtics won 64.
64. Excuse me. Okay. And how many did Indiana win?
Let's go back. Indiana won 47.
47 games. So look at that huge gap. You know what I mean? The West is so much tougher. I kind of expected, those matchups to be kind of close.
I think
Over
that
here
gap is
though,
I think that gap in seeding in the West would have taken you to like a lottery team. I
yeah,
think almost. Yeah, the Rockets won 41 games.
yeah.
So you
So
minus 17 between the Nuggets and OKC. minus 17 games, it's 40 wins.
Yeah,
They would have been below the Rockets.
yeah,
It's crazy.
it's crazy.
It's
So
crazy.
I don't know, like Boston on paper, and even what they've displayed throughout the entire year, pure dominance for the most part, right? They don't have many holes. Obviously, the injury with Porzingis, who's I would say probably their third best player, is going to be interesting to see what they do with him. I think you know being coming off an injury like he just had to experience, you don't want to rush a player like that back, which is why I think they might consider having him come off the bench for just a little bit and just see, naturally try to get him in a rhythm, because you don't want to, because they spent most of their playoff run without him. You don't want to just magically insert him
Yeah,
in
pop him in the lineup.
and just expect them to be,
The same old
um,
KP.
exactly. So that's why I think they might, have him on the bench. But even, without that, they're a relatively deep team. I mean, especially when it comes to their big men. Tillman, I mean, he's what's the word I'm looking for? Um, he's no slouch, right? Like he's no scrub, is the word I'm looking
Yeah.
for. And then obviously Al Horford, he's been doing this for years. He's one of the oldest players in the
Mm-hmm.
league, and he's still a
Shout
very
out my boy.
serviceable. Did you know he was in a music video with Sierra?
Are you serious?
I'm serious. I found out about that through the Jeff T podcast, and I looked it up,
Shout out Jeff T.
and I'm just like, wait, he was in this? And I scroll all the way to the end, and he's just chilling. And I'm just like, no way, Al Horford was in this. That was like, oh
Surprised
nine.
you missed a guy who's 6'9".
I know, right? Yeah. So that was really weird. But shout out to
Shout
Al
out Al
Horford.
Horford,
You
my
know,
Dominican brother. Shout out Al
yeah,
Horford.
that's true. So we all know that Boston's a really good team. Tatum and Brown, have been playing relatively pretty good. I mean, obviously with Brown being the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. There are some question marks with his team, but they're still really good, as you can tell.
Oh yeah.
So, shout out to the Celtics for getting everything done. I wish they had more interesting, playoff series, but that's not what ended up happening. So it is what it is. Now going on to the West, the Dallas Mavericks. They beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in 5, almost swept them. That was very interesting. I didn't
That was
expect
the
that to
most
be,
unexpected thing I
yeah,
think of these playoffs.
that was very interesting. So just going into Dallas, obviously my team had their fair share of battles with Dallas within the past, month or so. So if anyone's gonna know anything about Dallas, it's gonna be me in this scenario. Dallas, I mean, we talk about Boston being expected. That Dallas was not expected,
Mm-mm.
to be here. We look back at their first matchup against the Clippers. Obviously Kawhi was injured, but you know, assuming Kawhi was healthy, we would have thought that could have gone, either way. And with the addition of Harden on the team and still having guys like Norman Powell, it's just like, hey, you know what? Maybe the Clippers can still win this. It didn't happen. Then we go to
Mm-mm.
OKC, right? Again, it wasn't this thing where one team was going to be above, the other, like how it was with Boston. No, it was close. If you look at all of the predictions and stuff, they expected this to be close, but Dallas still
Mm-hmm.
ended up getting it done. But then you go to Minnesota, and we're just like, yeah, I thought Minnesota was going to win, but then Luka killed. Especially who he killed. He destroyed Gobert. There were
Took him back
times
to France.
you remember when Gobert was backing him down and Lucas stripped the ball and he turns to the Minnesota bench and started laughing. That was funny. That was real funny.
Luka's a
Um,
savage, bro.
he's a
He's a
savage.
savage. We love that.
So they dominated through all those teams. I mean, going into it, Luka had his struggles against OKC. A lot of it was due to injuries. He seems to
Yeah.
be a lot more healthier now though
Hobbling
than he
on,
was.
playing on one knee, still dropping 30. You know.
Exactly. He seems to be a lot healthier now than he was back then during that series. Um, and then Kyrie, he had some stinkers. We're not gonna pretend like he didn't. But one thing that's impressed me with Kyrie is that his defense has actually improved. I've never Luka and Kyrie, actually, I've never seen them
Yeah,
this engaged like with defense. Um, and
true.
it's been very interesting. And I think that's what the team needs. But what was interesting post trade deadline when they acquired Gafford and PJ Washington, they were
Washington,
like number one.
#1 defensive team,
Yeah.
which is
So
impressive.
yeah, like
That's a big thing. That is a huge thing to me because I remember I was in the camp thinking this trade wouldn't work. I look like an idiot now, but I very much didn't think this trade would work because I thought you have Kyrie, you have Luka, no defense. You just have straight offense, outshoot them. The Suns tried it, didn't work. The Pacers tried it, better results, but I mean, they were still a 60. Like, so it was just like, but man, with the trade deadline improving their defense, Derek Lively, shout
yeah,
out Derek Lively, having that presence in the paint, massive for him. Grabs boards, plays good interior defense, plays his role perfectly. That's
he
exactly
does.
what he has to do.
He catches
PJ
lobs.
Washington, yeah, catches lobs. PJ Washington sinking threes, playing
Hey,
good
hey.
rotations. It's just, yeah, it's just this team is built so well post trade deadline. And I feel like if they had this team the whole way, they could have been in contention for a top seed in the West. But they just didn't have this whole team. Like 50
Yeah.
wins, it's just they can really I really think they can beat them, but they just have to play they have to play like they've been playing. They can't sink under. They either gotta play how they've been playing or rise even higher than what they've been playing to.
Yeah.
Because they can do it. They can definitely do it.
Yeah. And see, that was what I was gonna say. Like, Luka and Kyrie, you expect those guys to be great because they're truly great players, but we didn't expect PJ Washington to be such a shooter, you know, having
Yeah.
games where he would have like 26 points or whatever. Excuse me, that's insane. Um, and so really now, I mean, you know, the Mavericks I mean, they've defeated some teams with really good offenses and really good, defenses. And, no disrespect to the Celtics, but the teams that they've, faced, they have not been on the same level as Dallas.
hmm
They
Nowhere
arguably
close.
took down two contending teams.
Oh yeah.
Three, if you want to
Definitely.
include like a healthy Clippers team, but they weren't healthy, so it is what it is. But
But I mean,
OKC and the Wolves, in
yeah,
my opinion, were contenders
easily,
this year,
easily.
and Dallas took them all out. And so this does kind of make me wonder the matchup between those two teams, which we will now, of course, finally talk about. Um, so with Tatum and Brown obviously being the two best players on the team, it is natural to compare them to Luka and Kyrie. But actually, before I do that, I want to compare Luka or the Dallas backcourt to the Boston backcourt because Boston has arguably one of the best defensive backcourts
hmm
of all time. Dallas has arguably one of the best offensive backcourts of
Offensive.
all time.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate that they got, or it's unfortunate for Boston that they did all they could to acquire those guys that, are elite on defense just to get paired or just have as a matchup Luka and Kyrie. Like Luka and Kyrie, like that's so unguardable. Um,
It is.
so I mean, do you think there's any hope that those two guys will be able to at least
Slow
hold
them down.
them to some extent to just slow them
Yeah,
down to
because
make
it's
things a little difficult?
Luka's one of those dudes where you don't stop him, you slow him down.
Yeah.
And there are games where Kyrie is exactly like that. You don't really, you slow them down. You
Yeah.
don't stop. So when that comes into play, that's what I'm saying. It's massive that PJ Washington, I think, could be the X factor because because they have to be focused. They have to be solely focused on Kyrie and Luka. But the great thing about them is that they can find the open man. They don't need to just try to find their own shot. Luka can pass. We've seen Kyrie when he's been struggling during these playoffs have 8, 9, 10 assists. They can find the open man. Just a matter of that man sinking their shots. So if PJ Washington keeps playing how he is, Derrick Jones Jr. has been good. If Lively can find his way through the paint, try to find a way for Luka or Kyrie to get a lob up there, or to just find them inside the bench, do their thing, they can stand a really great chance at beating them. I have a lot of faith in the Mavericks. I wouldn't say they're my favorites because I don't know. It's like it's so this is super close to me. This is just like how I seen the Nuggets and Wolves series. It's just super like they're like it's just yin and yang. It really is
Yeah.
yin and yang. So, but if the Mavericks can get the most out of their role players while Kyrie and Luka do what they've been doing, they can beat them.
Yeah.
But if the Celtics, with if JT and JB can play consistently, if they can keep doing what they're doing, and then you have Derek White. Derek White has been great these playoffs. Drew Holiday is Drew Holiday. He's gonna play great defense. Then they can it's gonna be even. It's gonna be very even. It's a very even matchup.
Yeah.
So it really just depends to me on whose players that aren't superstars plays better.
Yeah. Um, I personally believe that the Celtics will commonly be viewed as the favorites. And they should. They were the 1 seed. They ran away with the 1 seed, but at the same time, like, you know, Tatum, and look, I'm not one of those Tatum haters or anything, but we've seen Tatum at times just not play up to how he
It's
should be
true.
playing in big moments like this. And to me, it's not that he's a choker. The more to me, it's just that he's inconsistent,
Yeah.
which is kind of passable during the regular season.
Yeah.
But in the finals, when you only have possibly only 4 games, you can't afford to be inconsistent.
Yeah. Max at max 7 max.
So that's why I'm just like, who am I scared of more, Luca or Tatum? I'm petrified of Luca. I still had nightmares after what he because of what he did to OKC. Tatum doesn't have that same amount of fear that Luca generates.
And I remember I heard Kendrick Perkins, and I don't agree with Kendrick Perkins, but I'm not gonna lie, he made a very fair point. It was like, when is Jason Tatum gonna have that moment? When is he gonna have that thing that's like he showed up in this moment? Because Luca has that. We got Luca hitting game winners in Western Conference Finals games already.
Mhm.
He did it. He did it the last time they're in the Western Conference Finals versus the or it was it the semis versus the Clippers? I'm
It was
thinking
the
about
semis.
the semis, but still high
That might have
high
been the
pressure
first round actually, but yeah.
or the first round. Ah man, but we have him hitting playoff game. I was gonna say playoff game winners already in the past, and he just did it in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Lucas had games, moments, everything where he has shown out. Kyrie, we know Kyrie has had many games for almost a decade where he has shown up and he's had his moment. He's had his moments. And it's like JT so far in his career, even despite the fact he's been given ample opportunity, maybe more opportunity than any player his age, not of all time, but in the modern day so far, like let's say of the late 2010s, early 2020s,
Yeah.
he's been given the most opportunity to have that moment, but he still doesn't. He's been given ample opportunity to have that game that defines him. That game six Clay,
Yeah.
that LeBron block, that Luca game winner, that Kyrie game winner, he still needs that. And while that doesn't mean necessarily that because he doesn't have a moment that he's not a superstar or that means that Dallas is going to win this series. But it's things like that that put belief in people like us that the Celtics can win. That's why we believe in Luka so much. That's why we believe in Kyrie so much because we
Yeah.
know that, oh, in the last 5 minutes, in the last 2 minutes, I've seen it before. That means it can happen again. That Luka and Kyrie are just gonna be automatic. They ain't gonna miss a shot. They're gonna find whatever man is open. We've seen it over and over, time and time again. So Jason Tatum needs to step up
Yeah.
and just destroy that narrative of that he chokes and that he doesn't play as well in the heated moments.
Yeah.
Because so far from what we've seen overall, I'm not gonna say in every game, that's false, but overall in the high pressure situations, he shrunk a little bit.
Yeah.
He shrunk.
Yeah. I mean, look, they got some guys on that team that I think will help them get will help them make the game competitive. But at the end of the day, right? If I'm Boston, you have to play all 4 quarters. You cannot let this game be close because if it's close in the fourth quarter, I have Dallas because they have Luka and Kyrie who have consistently been some of the most clutch players in playoff moments I've ever seen. And so because of that, I think there's a very decent chance that the Mavs will get this done. But
And I think I remember seeing a stat about like quarter differentials and that the Celtics played their worst in the fourth, I think. I don't know if that's a true stat.
mhm,
I don't know if I'm making that up or I heard it wrong, but I remember hearing a stat like that. That when it comes to fourth quarter time, that's when they played their worst.
you know what? I'm gonna ride with Dallas mostly because I've been given more reasons to have more belief in Luka and Kyrie than I have Brown and Tatum. There's a decent chance that Boston can still get this done, but I'm gonna personally say the Mavericks will win this, but it'll be a 6 or 7 game series. I'll say Mavs in 7.
That's
What
a
is
fair
your
take.
final prediction?
Before anything, I want to see the Celtics fourth quarter stats.
Sure. While he's looking that up,
Uh,
I want to direct you guys to my other podcast, The Metabolism Man, which is available
uh,
on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all those things. Go check it out. Also, check out my short film, Self Reflection. It is also on YouTube.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I can't find it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but uh, this is a tough one. Like I said, this can be super close. Um, uh, oof. If I was a betting man, I had to put down parlay. My life depends on it. I think I'm gonna have to say Mavericks in 7.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to say that. I have a lot of belief in Luka and Kyrie. I think that JT and JB are more stoppable than Kyrie and Luka are. And considering the fact that even though um, Boston overall is a great defensive team, they've proved it. Dallas has proven since these acquisitions they made at the deadline that they are also a great defensive
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, it's gonna be very entertaining though. Way better than last year's, that's for sure. Now there
team.
is
Yeah.
something interesting that I do want to bring up before we end this episode. Let's say Dallas. So, all right, you mentioned this earlier, right? That Dallas has been given up. Excuse me, how Boston has
Tatum
been
and Boston.
given opportunity after opportunity. They've always been almost there. And matter of fact, in 2022, they were there, but they lost to a much more experienced team. Um, if they lose it this time, what do you think will be on Boston's mind during the off season? And do you think that we will finally see the end of Tatum and Brown?
It's interesting because I don't want to say they haven't worked. I think they've worked. I very much believe JT and JB have worked well together. This has been the best starting five, the best overall team they've had. So realistically, if you were to break them up, I don't know what really could replace either one of them, to be very honest. I very much think that what should be on their minds really shouldn't be to blow it up, but it should be what can they supplement because this team is great. This team is great. But if they lose, it's like, I don't know. I feel like that's what's gonna be. It's like I feel like that's what they're gonna go through. It's like they don't know what to do
Yeah.
because it's like this team has gotten better, and they were already one of the top teams, and they got better. They added what they needed, and to lose after doing all that is like just throw your hands up in there. Like
Yeah.
it's like what else?
Yeah.
What else? So if that were to happen, I don't even know. It's like the way I see it, it really is supplement even more. And when I say that, I don't mean add a superstar. I'm not saying for them to go on
Of
and get, I
course.
don't know,
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell or something.
Yeah.
But do what they did last year. Look for players that play their role really well and just, yeah, I guess, go back out next season and try again.
Yeah.
Because they get Derek White and Derek White improves, and we see that he massively impacts the team. They add Porzingis, massive impact to the team. And I mean, Porzingis was an all-star level player, but it
Yeah.
wasn't like anything crazy. They add Drew Holiday, another great player, makes a big impact. So I think the only thing they can really do if they don't win the title this year is keep doing the same.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a lot of just not knowing what to do. Um, because I mean, I don't have an answer. Like, I don't know what they're going to do. I think they'll probably explore the opportunity of trading Brown. Um,
Whoever will take that contract.
yeah, well, oh yeah, he is getting paid a lot. Well, you know what it is?
Yeah.
I don't think you'll let that because I mean, after I saw them somehow move off of that Bradley Beal contract, I'm just like,
True.
oh yeah, no, I
Anybody will trade for anything.
anybody will trade for anything if a team is desperate enough. So
Yeah.
I've yet to be proven wrong where I say that like there is no truly untradeable contract. That being said, Ben Simmons is pretty borderline untradeable, but I do think that him being an expiring will make teams contemplate it. You know what I mean? But going back to
Yeah.
the original point, um, I don't know what they're gonna try to do. They do have their picks. I still think they have a good enough, like amount of picks. They got some pretty decent role players that I think other teams will be interested in, but I don't know. I don't think they'll blow it up though, just because of the fact that Tatum and Brown are still very young. But
Yeah.
only time will tell, you know. As for Dallas,
Jeez,
if they
man.
end
This
up
dude's getting
losing this,
paid.
I
Oh
think they
my
should just,
God.
run it back. Like if Dallas
Oh
loses
yeah,
it,
for sure.
just run it back. Try to, resign as many guys as possible. But
Hmm.
unless something crazy just kind of like falls in their lap, I don't think they should really go out and, make this huge trade or huge free agency signing.
Definitely.
Um, but I think they'll be okay. And Luka's only 25. He's only going to get, better. And I'm not worried about Kyrie declining
Just yet,
anytime
yeah.
soon. So I think they'll be okay. Boston has more pressure though to win this
Definitely, yeah.
for sure.
I mean, Dallas was 7 games off the first seed, and their team wasn't as good as it is now.
Yeah, yeah,
So if Dallas loses, obviously they don't want to lose, but it's not a bad thing.
yeah.
They weren't even expected to be here, but they showed out, and they can add little small pieces here and there, and they'll be even better than they are.
Yeah, I agree. But time will tell. Fortunately, we don't got to make those decisions. We just got to watch it as fans. And that's the best part about being in the position that we're in. So, those are our thoughts and takes on the upcoming NBA finals. I believe by the time you'll be watching this, it'll either be tomorrow or it'll be like really close, like that same day, because I plan on editing this like almost immediately after. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please subscribe on Spotify or YouTube, whatever you're watching. And I hope you guys have a good day. Leave a like, leave a comment. Um, I'll put my Cash App in the description. I'll put Jordani's Cash App in case you
I don't
want
take
to.
Cash App. I don't take Cash App. Zelle.
Oh, I'm sorry. He only does Zelle. So if you want to give us a
Yeah.
little, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. No, but I hope you guys have a good one, and see you guys in the next video.